What's up? Welcome back to Working Class Customs YouTube channel. Welcome back once again to Stable B. We are on part 4. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. I think part 4 of the 2003 CBR 600 F4i rebuild process. I said rebuild. If you've been following along, you know the story. Quick recap. Wasn't running quite right, couple of light issues, whatever else. I said, hey, I'll take it. I'll get it back up and running for you. No charge on you. I need some YouTube content. You pay for the parts. I'll get it all put back together, and then we can get you to the track and let me take it for a few laps out on the track. That way I can also get a review on it. So 2003 CBR 600 F4i. If you haven't seen the other parts, we have parts 1, 2, and 3 already up. Go check them out. You can find them just in the playlist. CBR 600 F4i, I believe is what it's called. We'll have a link for that right there. Beyond that, please, if you're here, if you're enjoying the content, or if at any point in the video you feel like you're enjoying the content, click the subscribe button down below, throw a like on the video, and please leave your comments. Once again, I'm not a certified mechanic or electrician or painter, or I can name a number of things, but I do some things. I'm here to show you guys what I do, let you know my tips and tricks, and I ask that in return you give me your tips and tricks and point out anything I might be doing wrong. I like the feedback a lot. I take it very to heart, try and move forward doing a little bit better. Sometimes I think it's just keyboard warriors getting the best of us. The internet is what the internet is, but when it's a very good feedback comment, I try and take that all on board. Hopefully you guys see that through my videos, so please, I live for those comments. Leave them for me. Thanks. All right, so the goal for part 4 today is to get this back together and hopefully running. Things I have done off camera. I wired up the fuel pump switch. So we were talking about that. I shouldn't say switch, I should say the bike harness side of the fuel pump plug. Rewired all that together, it should be nice and good. I didn't get it extended out like I wanted to, but I think the plug coming off the tank is long enough. It should be okay. I tested that the other day. We got a new battery installed. We're gonna go ahead and uninstall that while we're putting everything back together, then we'll put it back in the end. But the goal here today, get everything put back on the bike. I'm not gonna put everything on until we start it, make sure it runs, and then we'll get the rest of it all put back on. And then that'll be the end of part 4. And then part 5 will also be pickup day. So we're gonna get it all put back together, make sure it's running good, and then invite the guy back over so he can see it, see the final product, see what we did for him. I'll kind of run him through everything, let him know what all we did, what's changed, what hasn't changed, whatever else. And then we'll see what he thinks, let him go ride it and see how it turns out. So let's get started. Okay, so first thing we gotta do is get our lights installed in this tailpiece. Don't mind the overspray. Overspray is fine, it'll all be inside. You won't see it anyway. So the nice part is that, as you guys seen in part 3, once again, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. We got these wired up to a plug, and the plugs, both plugs on both sides are the same. So as far as on the tail goes, that's nice because we don't have to worry about which one goes where. That gives us the ability to just throw them in here, and then I've got them labeled on the bike side, so that way, once you put them in, you can make sure you get, left goes left and right goes right. It'll be left, that'll be left, this will be right. But like I said, right now, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna go ahead and slide these in, and then get them installed somehow. I'm not even sure how. It's my only downside with these guys from Hot Bodies, that they definitely don't have the most instructions with them, to put it lightly. So they came with some brackets and some bolts and some little plastic pieces. And that was it. That's gonna be a joy to figure that out. We might end up using the old one as a reference because I'm a little confused how there's no hole on the light, as you can see. There's no hole in the tailpiece. We'll check the bag, see if we're missing anything. Nothing in the bag. See if we're missing something in the box, maybe. I don't know. Nothing in the box. All right, let's go grab that other tail and see what that one looks like. No way, that's insane. They're just glued. Yep, they're just glued. We might start with something else tonight, and I'll look into that and see what I can do. Set that off to the side for now. Okay, so I realized I was being dumb. I was trying to put them through backwards. Pretty simple. One, make sure your top, they're labeled. It's hard to see, but it says top on top. You don't want the top on the top. Really confusing because that top, oh, that's right, that's the top. Okay, so make sure you get the top on the top, on the top, on the top, on the top, and then you just slide them in backward. Don't press too hard like I probably am. Nice even all the way around. And then we might throw some sealant if I have some around the edge. If not, I will go get some and throw it in there, but honestly, those don't look like they're going anywhere. I don't really feel like it either, so it won't be that bad to just kind of leave them like that, and then you can pull them out if you need to. If you ever need to reinstall them, without having to redo all the sealant and glue. So I'll probably talk to the owner about that, see what he wants to do, but that's done. That was easy. Just go the right direction. Once again, I don't edit my mistakes out of the videos, so everything that I do that's a mistake or a silly mess up, whatever, boom. And then these brackets are for the license plate, which is gonna require you to drill into this. So I'm not gonna do that today because I'm not sure exactly where he wants his license plate. I'll let him kind of decide that. The other thing we have to do is get this guy, which I just happen to have because his bike didn't have it. I gotta get that on there and stuck in there. So that one I probably will apply a little bit of glue to and get it stuck in there, but we'll do that a little bit later before we put this on. Let's move on to the next thing. Here, the next thing we're gonna do is get this fuel pump and its assembly up and out of here. We are gonna be reusing this hose, despite my better judgment maybe. This should be okay. We do think this fuel pump was the original issue with the bike not running well. I was gonna show you guys the troubleshooting on that, but after talking to him, I asked him, do you want me to just go for it? He said, just go for it. Pretty sure it was the issue. Hoping it was the issue. We'll find out when we get it all put back together, but we're gonna pull this whole assembly out and get the new one put in, and then we'll get that tank installed after we put the airbox on. So, we're gonna want a large wrench up on the top. Apparently not that large, maybe a 17. Oh, look at that, big money. Get that joint broke. I have to see if I can find a torque spec for the new one on that washer. Put that back in there so we don't lose it. And we'll set that off to the side for now, and then go get us a 10 mil for the rest of them. Oh, I'm so glad it was a 10 mil because I called that from down there. You guys would have been pretty upset with me. Apparently not too many of these are hand loose style, which is less than ideal, but that's okay. You should always have a suitable container to put your nuts and bolts in so you don't lose them. Or you can just set them on the ground, and then, you know, if you lose them, oh well, eventually you'll find it. And in the meantime, you just have a messy garage that has a bin of random nuts and bolts somewhere and find one that'll probably work. Lift that up and off without applying too much pressure. There's our old fuel pump with a little bit of fuel still in it. Just so you guys know what was going on here. This is your cord that goes out to the plug. That is the ground for that. It's all connected into a 3-prong. It was not connected into a 3-prong on this one. The ground just went back into the ground on its own. I think that was actually the issue, but also old bike, old pump. You can see there's some stuff in here. The filter is supposed to be built into here. I don't even see one right now. There could be a big issue too, but if you don't have a filter and a fuel pump, your fuel pump's gonna get clogged up and not work anymore. So we'll go get the new one. I'll show you kind of where that filter is in there. We'll get that put in here. We're gonna set some absorbent down here because very technically this is a workout mat. You don't wanna work out on gasoline. So, yeah. All right, here's our new fuel pump. New gasket, you don't have to worry about that. That little guy, not sure if that's a filter. Sure think it is. That just makes sense. So this sits in the bottom. All your gasoline should come through here. That should kind of filter it, gets sucked up, and sent out through your main fuel line right there. And that's a return, I wanna say. I don't know exactly, we never figured that out. That's for you guys to tell me about in the comments. Yep, it goes this way. Don't stick your cord inside, even though there is a cord that goes inside. I understand that. Make sure the whole thing goes in. Don't want to squish your gasket up. Boom, just like that. Snug these up real quick, and then I'll look up a torque spec and we'll get some torque on them if we have a torque spec available. If not, you know, that's how the grilled cheese crumbles, whatever that's saying. All brand new. So as you can see on this one, the ground connected right there, comes down, goes into this 3-prong. So we reconnected the ground on the bike side into the 3-prong, wired all that back in. Like I said, I did that off camera because it was just such a hard angle to get a good camera angle that you guys wouldn't have been able to see it anyway. We didn't make any mistakes, so you didn't miss any mistakes on that. So let me go check this torque spec and we'll get this torqued up. So I wasn't able to find a torque spec for the mounting bolts specifically. I cheated a little bit, went to what my bike manual says, which is 89 inch-pounds. That sounds reasonable. It's not a lot. So we're gonna do 89 inch-pounds. Got my little baby inch-pound wrench here. We'll put that much on them, ensuring that it doesn't feel like too much. Perfect, doing 89. We're also gonna go in a bit of a star pattern here. Most of these will probably take a good little bit. No, you're not gonna hear a click on this. This is a dial indicating it doesn't click, sorry. 89 all the way around. Again, that is inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. Do not, please, do not put 89 foot-pounds on your fuel pump. Okay, and we'll restart our star pattern here. Make sure everything's still torqued up. That feels like it's gonna be pretty good. Give us a good seal there. And then I did find the torque spec for the fuel line, which said 16 foot-pounds. We're gonna do that. We're gonna hope that it doesn't feel like too much while we're doing it, because it kinda sounds a little iffy, but should be good. Let's see, that was routed underneath, so we wanna do that again. Get a nice little spot for the hose to sit, so make sure it goes the right direction. Yeah, I don't actually think 16 foot-pounds is too much. Get that set to 16. The thread I was reading, which of course everyone's always gonna say that, was something about the fact that, you know, make sure your torque wrench is calibrated so you don't overdo it. I'll tell you that right there didn't feel too bad. Oh, that's not even a 10. Dumb on my own account. I don't have an 11 with a 3/8 drive. I only have an 11 with a 1/4 inch drive, which is, you know, it's stupid. Okay, it wasn't an 11. It was a 12, which is extra dumb. I do have a 12 3/8 drive though. So we will put not too much on that either. Feel pretty good. Sweet. All right, now we can get this tank on after we get the airbox on. So let's go get that airbox installed. Airbox, gotta go back on. The biggest thing I can say here is that there are gonna be things plugged into your airbox. Don't forget that, make sure you plug them back in. I had a bike rebuilt, won't name a shop, but they did an engine overhaul for me. Did a great job on it, but when I got it back, there was a code on it, and for quite a while, I couldn't figure out what the code was. I was sitting there one day, and I had taken my fuel tank and everything off. I think I was actually looking to see what my velocity stacks looked like, and what do you know? There was a sensor literally on my airbox. It's gotta be mass flow or intake temperature or something. Sensor was not plugged in, i.e. the code I was getting. So check your stuff, make sure everything's actually plugged in, especially when you're reinstalling parts, especially if you're gonna go deep into a bike, you're pulling an engine out. Make sure before, like anytime you put any part on, if you're gonna cover up a cord or a plug, anything like that, you gotta be sure that you get that plugged in or moved out of the way. Make sure you know where it's going while you're working. That way you don't have an issue, because fuel injected bikes or cars or whatever it is rely super heavily on all these little sensors. It gets really annoying, but that's just the way it is. So make sure you got all your sensors plugged in. That way the bike can be happy. Got that on. Get the top of the airbox on now. We'll probably wipe it off because she's a little dirty. It's kind of crazy how just an airbox makes a bike look so much more like a bike. It is insane to me. Hopefully you guys don't mind just watching screws. It's a lot of what we're gonna be doing today. And once again, another plug. Make sure we get that on there in the right spot. There we go. Okay, we'll give that a nice quick wipe down before we put anything on top of it. Okay, and then before we start the bike, we will have to install the headlights. Well, not the headlights, but the front end. Up here, you have a bank sensor right here. I'll show you guys when we get there. The bank sensor sits right up here. That way when the bike tips over and lands on the ground, it shuts the bike off, right? So it's gonna measure that and shut the bike off. So unless it's sitting upright, it will not let the bike work. Also, key note, if you have one of these or any bike with a bank sensor and your bike's just not running and you can't figure it out why, check that. I don't remember if there's a fuse for it per se. I can double check for you in a second, but check on that. Easiest way to check on something, buy a new one. Throw the new one in, and if it works, well, that was the problem. If it doesn't work, problem is something else. That's how I usually troubleshoot. Not the cheapest way to do it, but keeps you out of a shop, which in the end could save you some money. Could also cost you a lot more money. There's pros and cons to the way we do everything. Now we got the airbox on, we can get the tank on. It's gonna be definitely a party. So, big things to note. Got our fuel line that's gonna go on back here, and then this cap's gonna go on the outside of that. And we got these two hoses that are gonna go into the bottom, one being the fuel return, the other's a vent that goes down that was not connected before. We'll make sure that's connected up. And then obviously you gotta plug the thing in. It sits back there. I gotta find that other rubber piece, if it exists. I honestly don't know. Oh, okay. Those guys are gonna go back there. We'll add those in a second. I'm also gonna need the tank bolts, which are the two long boys, and the one of which was not necessarily meant for it, but will work for it, so we'll use it. We're gonna do a test. I'm gonna flip this upside down somewhere else real quick and make sure that we're not gonna have anything leak out. We are gonna have something leak out. Oh, just because we opened it up. Okay, gotta drain the tank first. So since we opened it up and broke the seal on it, our little vent line wanted to leak. Now it doesn't. All right, very good. No wonder it fell off. You need a hose clamp or zip tie or something on there at least. Okay, we got that hose on there. I would show you guys all of that, but like, you gotta be kidding me on this angle of everything in here. So currently gonna plug this guy in, which this is why I wanted to extend it out, but it's not too bad. I think as long as you know where it is that you're going, it's not too bad to get to. Got both those vent lines on there, and we just need to make sure our fuel line comes over to the fuel rail, and then we can set the tank fully down. I'm gonna set her down a little bit. I have to kneel over here to get that on there. All right, we're gonna, I think that should also be a 17. We'll check real quick, and we'll probably torque that to the same spec. Yep, pull out our torque wrench again, get that torque down, and then we can actually mount that fuel tank. Check to make sure, still 16. Okay, very good. Question for the audience, just let me know down in the comments. Do you put your tools away while you're working, or does everything stay out till the end and then you have a mess of tools to put away? I'm curious because, well, I do both. A lot of times I'll be like, oh, I gotta put everything away so it's nice and away and out of my way and whatever else, and then I remember where things are. And sometimes I get done with a job and there's just like 50,000 tools all over the place, everywhere, everything else. So I'm curious what you guys do and what your opinions are on it. Think it's necessary to put everything away? Or is that just something that people do that's like too much and not worth it? Let me know. What did I say about leaving tools out? Look at that. Is that a 10? Probably not. Nope. Not near as worried about hitting the tank from up here. We will need to get these top ones in before we fully tighten down the back, but I can get it pretty tight. Yeah, that's not too bad. All right. Look, there I go. Setting tools off to the side again. Here's the hardest part, is finding the right bolts. Luckily, we did get a whole new fastener kit for this thing. So all the fairings will be on with brand new fasteners, which is nice. Told him I wanted to do that because after looking at what he had, I was just like, dude, it ain't ever gonna work. There were too many variables, if you will. All right, now, at this point, I'm gonna throw some fuel in here real quick, get the battery connected up, and then we're gonna attempt to run this thing. Hang on, we said we gotta put the lights on first. So we'll get the lights on first, and then we'll do all that and attempt to run this thing. Hard part here, it's gonna be getting everything back where it's supposed to be. I don't remember where these freaking things go. They probably go inside the, yeah. So wiring harness needs to go back where it's supposed to go. We got our new turn signals installed. Obviously headlights need to go on headlights. All of these little resistor guys need to go where they're supposed to be. You guys won't be able to see that too well, but if you've dealt with electronics, you know what I'm talking about. If not, let me know in the comments. I'll make a video speaking about electronics. How's that sound? Speaking mostly, specifically, wiring harnesses and getting all those together and where they're supposed to be and all of that lovely jazz. But anyway, your resistors generally come on like a little rubber kind of thing, and there's usually somewhere to stick those. So if you're putting something back together and you don't see that, does that make sense? Look for it. Your little resistors shouldn't just hang out. Get turn signal in 1, in 2. Left is on left, which is good because it's a different plug on the right. So get to test out our new Amazon plugs today. All right, everything's there. Now we get to put her up on. So I'm gonna open up our new fastener kit. Well, those are for the mirrors. Do I want to stick the mirrors on? Probably. See where the mirror bolts are. Not with the mirrors. Our fastener kit did come from ABS Fairings. I'll have a link to their website down below. They're pretty sweet. You can get a whole fastener kit for your bike. Usually they have a few extras in there and it's got like everything you could ever want. Okay, what I'm gonna do is we'll get this up on here with these bolts, and then we'll put the mirrors on. That way this is sitting where it's supposed to be. Focus on getting the mirrors on after we have this mounted. You know what we forgot? We forgot some intake tubes. We need some intake tubes. Unless they're really just, I guess we don't have tubes, we just have the covers? No way it just uses the covers. Apparently. The covers are gonna come back in like that. Yep, and those will bolt on later. Is there really no tube in there? Apparently there's no intake tubes, unless I'm just missing something, but I don't see them. I'll finish getting these on here. I try and remember where I just put the other bolts. There they are. I want 2 on one side, 2 holding there. Grab a mirror for this side. Needs to make sure it faces back. Set that ever so nicely right there. All of this just for a freaking bank sensor. In case you're wondering how important a bank sensor is. I don't know if I'll be able to get that in there without a wrench. Everything on this bike is a 5mm, which I'm very not used to. For the owner of the bike, if you're ever rewatching this video, 5mm. It's like damn near all you need. Almost snugged up there. We're gonna send this one down in. Should we put a windshield on it before we try and start it? I'm not doing this live, so I guess I can't really get an answer from you guys, but it's an interesting thought. So know when you're putting bike fairings on, they are plastic. Oh my goodness. Can you guys see that? Look at this. You're putting bike fairings on. Put your mirrors on backwards. Anyway, they are plastic, so you can bend them a little bit. Usually they're gonna need bent, especially if you have aftermarket anything on your bike. They're gonna need some bending and some working. So I recommend working in a warmer environment if you can. Sounds weird, but it's true. Not severely mandatory, but it will help a little bit. Help prevent some simple mistakes. But anyway, beyond that, just realize you're gonna have to bend a little bit. It's okay. Just be careful with them when you're doing it. Go nice and slow and easy, and you can get them into shape perfectly. And yeah, always put one mirror backwards, one mirror forward, so that way people know they can see you better in the dark because they're getting blinded by the light bouncing off your mirror. That was smart, huh? There's the first one. Look at that, our mirror's facing the right way. Yay, we can do simple things. Okay, there's the front end on. We'll get some fuel in the bike, we'll get the battery put on, and then we'll see if we have a runner. We got a little bit of fuel in the bike, got the battery connected. Gonna stick a key in. Fuel pump's reasonably primed. Do that a couple more times. Let that fuel pump really prime it up. And we'll give her a start. Let her warm up a little bit. level looks good. We do have a little bit of smoke. I don't know if that's exhaust leak or if that's just stuff burning off the exhaust. It has been sitting for a while. It's up over 100 degrees. All good. I'm gonna let it keep running for a little bit, try and get that smoke to either clear off. I really do think it's just dust and whatnot, but we got a runner. All right, so now that we know this thing runs, we got it started, it warmed up, it ran fine, it was revving. I'll have you know, like I said, I didn't show you guys what was going on before, but before I did put a new battery on, it could be a little bit of it, but before I got it started and it would barely idle. And then once it warmed up, it kind of would idle, but as soon as you gave it any gas, it would just try and die off. And you could like kind of slowly work the throttle up to get it up to 4,000 RPM, and then it would just stop there. It wouldn't go any higher. So there's a big improvement to watch it. We got it all the way up to 14. Let it get above 100 degrees before we did that. It revs all the way up, comes all the way down. The only issue we have right now is that on the way down, it kind of almost has a sticky throttle, but like, that's not sticky. So I gotta look into that a little bit. I'm thinking that might just be an idle adjustment. Hopefully that's relatively simple. I think that should fix that because it was also idling pretty high. So if we adjust the idle down, those are my thoughts on that. We'll get to that in a little bit. For now, we're gonna go ahead and get all the fairings put on. I'm gonna just run this time-lapse style so I can just kind of bust them out, get them working. Like I said, we got all new bolts and whatnot. Those are from ABS Fairings. Again, that link will be down in the description. Super stoked to hear that thing start up so nicely, so easily, and then run all the way through the rev range and back. It's very good. Fuel pump obviously worked. Wiring harness for the fuel pump worked. Right now, the front turn signals are on. I was reading through Hot Bodies Racing little kind of like cheat sheet. That's all they really have for you. They don't have a ton of instructions for these older bikes. And it said, if not running with stock turns or stock rear, let me just read it. Here we go. The stock running wires will not be used, only signal and ground wires. These signals may require additional resistors when using a non-stock rear turn signal. So we have a non-stock rear turn signal. We'll figure out once we get that plugged in, if that adds the resistance that it needs, because right now there's no electricity going back there, so that doesn't have anything. So hopefully that adds the resistance it needs to get them all to just work normally. We'll check it out once we're done. But like I said, we're gonna run time-lapse style, just get all this stuff busted out, be done with it. That way, I'll show you guys the finished product, and then I'll kind of work out those kinks and let you know in the next part when we give it to them what we worked out. Stand by for time-lapse. Hey, so, wow, my fingers are kind of dirty. The time lapse, well, our camera died. So, I apologize for that, but look, there's fairings on the bike again. Look at that. Issues that we have, I'll be upfront and honest. This seat is missing a bracket. Still secure side to side, and like realistically, you're gonna be sitting on it, so I'll talk to him about that, but not a whole lot I can do about that. It just doesn't have the bracket anymore to go underneath. I don't know if he's gonna wanna order that or not. It's kind of a one-off thing. And the only other thing I'm thinking, since we know that's a tank cowl, we've seen it, and these fairings are so nice and new, thinking they're aftermarket. And when I got the bike, this fairing right here on the side was not attached. And we might've found out why. Reason being, I got these two in just fine. This guy just does not want to go. I had kind of squozed everything I could as much as possible. Just didn't want to do it. I'm gonna talk to him about that. Realistically, like, it's all tight in here, nothing's going anywhere. We got everything else all the way down. So you got a bolt down there, you got a bolt here, you got a bolt back right there, and then you got all the trim on the inside and all the way up on both sides, connected underneath. So I'm thinking he'll be cool with just leaving that. I don't really have a good fix for it besides maybe heat it up, bend it. You guys let me know if you have any ways to fix things like that, but I think these are some aftermarket fairings. That's kind of why we ran into those issues. Beyond that, this side buttoned up pretty much beautifully. Perfect. Bolt there. Once again here, down here, and in the back underneath. Kickstand goes around just fine. This is aftermarket. I found this out when I was taking stuff off, but that's the cable to remove this back seat here. So whatever, it's pretty well hidden, not too bad. And that is everything. So yeah, we're pretty much done with this thing. Not bad, super excited. Yeah, so that's gonna finish us up for part 4. What can I say? That's pretty much about it. We got the lights working, turn signals working again, brake lights working. Besides the front brake lever doesn't actuate the brake light. I talked to him about that. I said, hey, there's a brake light switch problem. If you want the bike back sooner, we can go ahead and get it done. Or sorry, we can go ahead and give you the bike back. You can replace that. Or if you want to wait a few more weeks, I can order that and give it to you. Pretty sure he's just going to take care of that. He also wants exhaust on there that he's going to take care of. Gonna hopefully kind of teach him to do some stuff to his own bike. The important part is the bike's running well again, able to be ridden again. I'll go take it for a test run probably tomorrow or something at some point. Make sure it's all good to go before we wash it and hand it over to him. But beyond that, we are done. So things we did: new tail section, fairing fasteners, wiring harness in the rear, wiring harness in the front, a new fuel pump, the wiring harness fixed for the fuel pump, and then just general kind of clean up and look around and make sure everything's good to go. So thanks again for watching. That was the end of part 4. Stick around for part 5, delivery, and eventually later this year sometime, we'll get her out to the racetrack and see what a CBR 600 F4i is like on the racetrack. So stick around for that. Once again, please subscribe to the channel, throw a like on the video, and please, please, please leave me your comments. I love them. I've never had one of these before, so those of you in the audience that do have them or have worked on them or anything like that, let me know if there's something I'm missing or if there's more I should know about the bikes. It helps me out a lot. I appreciate it. Thank you.